And welcome back to another episode of Dogs on the Couch. Where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game. You were watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. First off, guys, please like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well so that way you'll get notified anytime there's a new video that drops here on Dogs on the Couch. I greatly appreciate the support. Again, a subscription is free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Also, please, by all means, jump in the comments. Let me know why either you agree or disagree with whatever opinions and or takes I or anyone else who's on the platform may have. With that being said, Coach Prime did an interview with what I would like to refer as the most reputable local Cleveland media source, and that would be G. Bush on the barbershop. Garrett Bush. I feel like he does. I can't say how much of a fantastic job I believe he's done. Covering Cleveland sports, mainly the Browns in particular, but all Cleveland sports. Shout out to him. He's got this thing where it's hashtag New Cleveland, and yeah, he is hashtag New Cleveland. Hashtag New Cleveland Media. If I want reports or I want someone who has sources, I'm gonna go listen to G. Bush. I don't think I'll need to listen to Jason Lloyd or Adam the Bull or my goodness, Dustin Fox or Zach Jackson. I don't think I need to listen to any of these people at this point. Because ironically, the individual who was able to land a tell-all interview with none other than Coach Prime himself was G. Bush. So I personally think there were some very significant as well as interesting comments that one Coach Prime had to say in said interview. Now, I want to preface everything by saying Coach Prime is saying specifically what you'll hear him saying when I play the clips. Anything that I'm saying is strictly me saying that. That's not Coach Prime saying that. Okay, so anything you hear me saying, well, that's me saying that. That's not Coach Prime. Okay, I do want to preface by saying that. But for starters, before we get into Coach Prime and how I feel like he completely obliterated Cleveland media, my goodness, what I would like to do is, I know we remember, but I would like to play a reminder of where some of the opposing individuals stood in the Shedeur Sanders conversation, and whether he was ready or not ready, whether he was good or not good, what he can do, what he can't do, etc., etc. So let's listen to one Jason Lloyd, again, courtesy of UCSS, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I want to make sure I give him that credit. Let's take a listen to Jason Lloyd and what he's saying, that people who were in that, they're no longer there. But, according to Jason Lloyd, you never know. Jason Lloyd may say those people are still in the building. Who knows? But, he was saying that people in that building were telling him this. So let's let Jason Lloyd, let's remind you of what he had to say.
He still doesn't know what he's looking at. He still doesn't flip protections. He doesn't know when he's hot. This isn't me saying this. I'm not an NFL. I've never claimed to be an NFL coach. This is people in that building will tell me he still doesn't know how to flip protections. He doesn't know when he's hot. He doesn't know what he's looking at. He can only throw to wide open receivers. He doesn't make tight window throws. He doesn't throw guys open. This is not the answer. These last 2 weeks were the opportunity coming off the Titans game to show that he can be the guy against playoff contenders, and he has not lived up to it. This is not it. He's still
okay. So, just basically the idea is Shedeur doesn't know anything about football. He doesn't know when he's hot. He can't flip the protections. He doesn't know how to read a defense. He can't make tight window throws. He can only throw to wide open receivers. I mean, he has another clip where he says, he doesn't, really know. He kind of, he said he kind of had to be shown how to watch film, was what he said. He kind of had to be shown how to watch film. So really quickly, before we get into Coach Prime, we can just listen to, a few other individuals who have had their spins on Shedeur, broken down some of his, footage in all 22s and different things like that. And let's just hear a couple of, those kinds of clips of what those individuals may have been saying, even though for the most part, we've heard it, but I want to make sure we cover it before we get into Coach Prime.
Run a go route, so if that corner comes off, I mean, again, I don't know what this guy's doing on the outside. He turns and stops, and we can't want to have a route right there because what you see is number 2 covers both of them, right? He comes off on the quick flat, and 44 is still outside behind him, so there's no way you're going to expect that concept to get both of those guys open. So again, I don't know what 44 is doing here, if this is a mess up on the route, if that's really what they want. But you get zone and you allow number 2 to take away the flat because he's got leverage on the flat. So if you throw that, he's blowing it up. And you allow him to cover 44, who's running an outside release something, stop route. So he's able to cover both of them. And Shedeur is in a no-win situation, expecting to get man. They run into the worst possible zone that you could get, and the concept's not in his favor. Great job by him to tuck this thing and find a way to get to the sticks for the first down.
So again, that's Chase Daniel breaking down one of the plays where, he's kind of just flat out telling you, oh no, excuse me, that was Kurt Warner. Forgive me. That was not Chase Daniel, that was Kurt Warner. But he's breaking the play down, pretty much telling you from starters, the play is doomed. He's actually looking at the route concepts and saying, like, I don't even understand how you would expect either one of these wide receivers to be open with what they're doing. You know what I mean? You could attribute it to somebody running the wrong route, but again, if we've heard, Coach Monken speak, he attributes, a lot of wrong route running to coaching, if you will. So again, he's pointing out that the play itself was doomed and terrible, but not only that, Shedeur was able to read the defense, understand that that terrible play wasn't finna be effective against that defense, and then make a conscious, good decision, tuck the ball, and gain some yardage, whereas he probably wouldn't have under any other circumstances, So that's one. I'll take a listen to Chase Daniel.
To this one right here. There's 4 down. It's in the red zone. They're blitzing off the left side. The center, and we saw this yesterday with Anthony Richardson, the center's going right. Shedeur knows he's hot. All right. He trusts just enough 39 to get that block. When he does that, what they're doing is they're running double posts. So this tight end down here and this receiver who's going to catch it on the right side of your screen, they switch release. Okay, 81 is going to go run through the free safety, which you're seeing stand on the goal line, and then they're going to have a post, which is going to lean out right and then move to the center of the field. This is a perfect play versus middle of the field safety. When he does this, okay, he doesn't get spooked. He moves just enough. A lot of younger quarterbacks will get spooked, and he'll just run away. He moves a little bit, sets up, sees it, throws a strike. Okay, down low, away, so you don't kill your receiver. I broke this down from him in training camp. What I do like is he's throwing to the left. Okay, he's reading the left, so it's stick routes to the left, and he's able to come back. This is really his 4th read, maybe 3rd if you count it. So he's looking left for the outside receiver, 84, doesn't like it. Then coming to this tight end, probably could have put it on him. He said, hey, you know what? It's 1st and goal. Let me take a chance. There's a back view on this. Really, really solid first half debut. I don't really.
Again, Jason Lloyd wants us to believe that Shedeur doesn't know when he's hot, but we got, former NFL quarterbacks breaking down the film and clearly seeing that Shedeur knows he's hot right here. And, talking about him getting to his 3rd, possibly even his 4th read on particular, said play. Also, not being spooked in the pocket, and just running, hurry up and running and scrambling, but instead making a subtle movement so that your blockers can pick up, a blitzer that may be coming off the end, and then set your feet and deliver a good football. So again, we got more people dispelling this information here really quickly. We got, if people remember, during Thanksgiving, of course, Shedeur, they got their own media team or whatever, so they follow him around a lot. But Shedeur is actually at Thanksgiving dinner table going over his playbook.
Stefanski, I even studied my place on Thanksgiving.
That's his brother clowning him about it. But I mean, yet again, here we are with actual footage. A guy that we were told, doesn't really study, doesn't really know what he's looking at and all this other stuff. But here he is on Thanksgiving studying his playbook at the dinner table, not eating turkey, studying his playbook. Even with his brother making fun of him, he's still sitting there studying his playbook like he should. You would think, right?
Blitz gets home, so Shedeur has to buy time. Tyree Wilson comes free, rolls to his right, throwing on the move. That is a dot.
I mean, again, whenever he's being talked about,
Have the guy. Is Shedeur the guy?
That's what we're looking at as a guy. No, we're going to give him a shot to prove that he's a guy. So we're not going to give anyone that title until they go out there and earn it. And he was the last person to be on the field, and he showed some flashes. So we're going to give him an opportunity to show what he can really do.
Come, he did it back to back too. So what you looking at, when you're chasing it? I'm just looking at how to get upfield on you. I'm gonna send you back to where my guys are. You're trying to get up and outside of me. If I cut that off, where you gonna go? You're not gonna run away from me. I'm gonna chase you down. You're a good kid. I don't want to have to hurt you, bro. we gonna need you, bro.
and again, that's Myles Garrett. This is Myles Garrett vouching for him, telling me you're gonna need him. And then not only that, but you got Shedeur picking one of the best pass rushers in the game, picking his brain to try to see, hey man, so what are you looking at when you trying to, if you're not a student of the game, you're not thinking about, you don't care to do those kinds of things. Let's listen to a little bit more of what Myles Garrett got to say about well, he was 12 back then, but this year he number 2. Let's listen.
Coach's office is easily seen when you walk in the building, and almost every morning you see him in there, talking through plays, talking through schemes with coach, and making sure that he's ready for his moment when he gets called up. And I appreciate that level of maturity and attention to detail.
So again, I don't understand. I mean, if he's in the office every morning with the coach and everything, and we breaking this stuff down, how is he not? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Last but not least, who we all kind of heard
different things. I learn and I prove to myself, I can do that. That's an aspect of my game that I gotta be more consistent with, but I can see that. And even the last drive, for example, and I respect, and I was telling them during the game, I respect their defense. I respect kind of their coaching and how it was, because if you understand, it was kind of like Tampa 2, that Mike Backer running, walling, taking that middle, because we had a through route, a vertical route from the inside. Then we had a dagger coming, but then as soon as and I'm like, okay, cool, I got the dagger, but then he peeled off and then was waiting on that dagger. So by the time I went there, then it was just hard to get back down. I ran out of time. So that's just in those situations, it's you got to tip your cap to them. That's the whole why. Because if you playing that's the ideal coverage you want a dagger in. You know what I'm saying? But anything else, we would have got to the check down. We would have got to there quicker. But that's the why of you didn't just take that quick completion, because it was there, but that's good coaching. That's good.
So to me, what that sounds, all of this stuff sounds like a young man that 100% understands what he's doing, how he's doing it, how to get there, and not just the the good areas or the good aspects, but also some areas or some aspects where he knows he needs to work and get better. So does his dad, because you're gonna hear Coach Prime. Coach Prime have no problem telling you, like, I'm one of the first ones to, like, when he messing up or something like that. Well, I'm one of the first ones to go tell him, "Hey, what are you doing? What was that that you just did? What on earth throw was you just making right there? What you thought you was doing with that throw right there?" I mean, Prime even goes on at one point in the interview to talk about how, what situation he had with one of his quarterbacks this past season, where the young man was kind of trying to hint to Coach Prime, "Oh, you wasn't coaching Shedeur, you wasn't talking to Shedeur like that." And, of course, with them having the media team that they have that follows them around everywhere, you know what I'm saying? He was like, "Oh, you think so?" They went back, they pulled up the clips, just to show Buddy, like, hold on, wait a minute, like, just because he Shedeur, I hope you don't think, like, here I am telling him, like, "Hey, that's the most dumbest throw I ever seen in my life. What are you doing? Why would you? What is you looking at? How did we see that? I didn't see what you saw there. What are we doing?" So, again, I want to get into now Coach Prime and a couple things that I felt like was interesting, from what he had to say. Now that we've revisited and we understand exactly what was being said and how things were being disproved, but just for all intents and purposes, we know who Coach Prime is. We know his resume, especially as a player, the best ever at his specific position. So again, like we all say, it's like hard to think that a kid that he raised is just so clueless about football. But let's just start with number one, the noise and stuff that's going on, and how Coach Prime feels like it may or may not have affected Shedeur.
Guys, new Coach Prime. I was in media for 20 years, man. So I know the backdrops of all these things, the Ian Rappaports, the Adam Schefter's, everybody you could think of. When I was with the NFL Network, CBS, as well as Barstools, I know how this stuff works. So a lot of things that was said, that was noted, my brother, we knew what time it was. We knew where it came from, because it's a phone call for me. Because you got to forget, I was in that lane for a long time. So I'm sitting at the desk seeing the calls coming from owners, GMs, coaches, players, trainers, about players, who was going to play, who wasn't going to play, who's doing this. I was sitting right by these guys from the NFL Network and CBS and so forth, and I understand how this works. So a lot of things that were said, it wasn't a buck, and it bothered me, but it didn't bother him. He just wanted the opportunity to get on the grass and do his thing.
And I thought that was interesting because, Prime said in specific, it bothered him, but it didn't bother Shedeur. And I mean, honestly, I believe that that's an amazing trait to have, especially if you're going to be Shedeur and you're going to be in the position that he's in. Number one, just being himself, but also trying to be a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Because just that in itself comes with its own challenges, but the fact that you Shedeur on top of that, like you Prime's kid, you know what I mean? On top of that, that's going to come with its own special, like set of challenges as well, in my personal opinion. So the fact that, a kid is able to withstand that and not necessarily let that get the best of him, I think is a fantastic trait to have, especially for a guy that, you want to play quarterback for your football team. You know what I'm saying? You need a guy to be able to have that type of, mental toughness, if you will, to be able to deal with those kinds of things. Next, Prime makes a statement that I found to be interesting about keeping receipts and knowing who said what, because this is going to lead to what my final point is at the end of this video that I would like to mark. You know what I mean? The final point that I would actually like to make. But here's Coach Prime on keeping receipts and knowing who said what.
Or now, one thing about the family, we keep receipts now. We do that. we know who's who talks about it. So when we come up, we understand who not to get down with. So we know that for a fact, my brother.
And the reason that I thought that was interesting, because he said, when we come up, we know who not to get down with. That's very interesting to me. Because what it sounds like to me is, it sounds like you saying, well, look here, if the ball get to rolling in a positive direction, we know who not to talk to. You're going to be looking for exclusive interviews and different stuff like that. We know who not to talk to because we remember what you said. So that's, for me, that was kind of telltale, like interesting, because again, we have several, media members who pride themselves on quote unquote having, quote unquote having the inside track and, the inside scoop and the Mary Kay Cabotts and the Aditi Kikubalas and the Zach Jacksons and all, the Jason Lloyds and all these people who make it seem like they just know so much because they just so plugged in. And with the previous regime, I do believe they were that plugged in. And so plugged in, the fact that they didn't have to do their real job no more. They just called Kevin and asked Kevin, hey, what you want us to tell him? All right, we're going to go tell him that. Bet. Make sure the check clear. Click. And that was pretty much the end of it. So now let's listen to Coach Prime address some of what he felt like, and deemed as the pre-draft lies that were being spread about Shedeur Sanders.
It was some ignorant things came out about him pre-draft and all that, and that was a lie. Like, he would never go into a meeting with headphones on. He would never go into a meeting unprepared. Like, that's just not who he is. There's no way he could accomplish the things he accomplished without being prepared. His film hours and his study time was well noted when he was at not only Jackson, but high school as well as, like, when we had layovers, we would be getting on the board in the Admirals Club. We got on the board, man, and I was putting defenses up there, and he was putting the offenses up there, trying to dissect them. And Shiloh was putting the defense up there, and Grown was putting the offenses up there, trying to dial up a play to beat his brother. So that all that stuff was a lie, man. That bothered me. It didn't bother him, but that bothered me because I knew where it came from. But we never, we took the high road. I never said where it came from. I know, dog. I'm connected like that with a lot of people. I was that before I was a coach. So we know what time it was. So when people are talking in the Cleveland media and saying this and saying that, we just sit back and laugh, man, because we know where it's coming from. We know exactly where it comes from.
Man, and, respectfully, man, I would think that Prime would know what type of kid he raised and how he is and how he acts and different things of that nature. And not only that, but Prime seemed to me to be the type of dad to where if Shedeur did go into, even if he thought he wanted to go into one of these NFL meetings with one of these coaches or GMs or whomever and wanted to have his headphones on, I think Prime is the type of daddy they'll be like, boy, I'll slap them headphones off. I'll slap them headphones off your head. Play with me again. I'll slap them headphones right up. So respectfully, growing up like that, when you grow up in situations like that, when you get to your own, you don't put them headphones up because you hear that in the back of your mind. You hear that. You be like, but you hear in the back of your mind, boy, I'll slap them headphones. You be like, oop, let me take these off. Let me make sure my shirt tucked in. Now, he might have had his watch on. But I mean, what did he do? Like, wow, okay, so he had a watch and some gold chains on. So you was distracted. You was the one distracted, not him, because you distracted looking at his gold chains, wondering how much money he got and how did he, why he got all this money and you don't. Maybe you felt some type of way about him or whatever because of that. But, Eric Coach Prime is dispelling this idea that, just Shedeur is just coming in there unprepared with headphones on, listening to his rap music, and he don't care nothing about what they saying, and he just so lost and so just he don't know what's going on. I highly doubt that, especially when his dad is the one sitting right here telling you as of different. So now let's listen to Coach Prime and his perspective on whether or not Shedeur is capable of reading defenses. We got several, we got a couple of them. We got Kurt Warner saying that he can. We got Chase Daniels saying that he can. Tony Romo saying that he can. So, Jason Lloyd, Zach Jackson, sometimes the people might not know what they're talking about, but for some reason they want us to believe that these people who are professionals, who have been actual professionals at that level, that they don't know what they're talking about. So you can say, oh, well, Chase Daniels is back. Okay, well, just let's listen to Coach Prime, who, again, was the best ever at his position. There's nobody better than him at his position in the game of football, period, at any level. So let's listen to what he got to say on whether he, what he thinks about Shedeur and if he can read a defense or if he can't.
When he was 7 years old, he was checking off at the line, man. He'd look at it and see it, and he was checking off, putting us in the right position all the way through and all the way up. And he's a savant when it comes to that. So hearing the bull jump that we heard, like, come on, dog, like, you for real? Where'd that come from? Like, come on, man. Where'd that come from? And that bothered me, because you can't try to make my son not to be no dumb Negro, man, with all the tutelage and all the persons that has been in his life to help him elevate even besides me. Don't do that. That bother a brother right there. Don't do that. Don't make us out to be fools. We never been dummies.
Switch to Walmart respectfully, like, if, just coming from the dad aspect, you gotta understand where he's coming from. It's like, yeah, you're gonna feel some type of way about that. So, like, basically, you calling my kid stupid? When I'm his dad, I know exactly what tutelage he been under and what's been occurring for all these years and everything like that. And then you mean tell me now all of a sudden my kid he just this dummy? Why? Because he looked the way he looked? Maybe because of, his background or the music that he listens to, or, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. Is that why we saying, that he's a dummy? Like, my kid ain't no dummy. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I definitely understand that, because I would personally feel the same with somebody trying to call my kid a dummy. Anybody would feel that way. You know what I mean? Especially, and the tutelage that your child is like, come on, let's listen to a little bit more, Coach Brown.
When you hear that, Coach, one of the critiques of Shedeur was not understanding the reads, the checks, the hots, the insides and outs. How did that make you feel as a coach, being there? You were there, seeing him, coaching him, and then also as a father.
Shedeur was successful as I don't know what in college football, and he had 6 coordinators. Think about that now, because we upped it every time. Because when we felt like he's exhausted that, like he needs to go to another level, we upped it every time.
And I mean, honestly, think about that. 6 different coordinators, that's 6 different offenses that you done had to learn and process and then execute on the field. I mean, that's unbelievable. So to say that a guy who can somehow navigate his way through multiple offensive coordinators and be able to pick up the system well enough to look the way that he did, I don't think we could say that he's struggling with picking up an offense and all this other extra stuff. And then not only that, there's been this thing in the NFL, over the past few years where, they've been kind of changing a lot of the verbiage, if you will. There's been this thing that's kind of, that we're shifting towards with the way that the players is coached in college, that when they get to the NFL, instead of running, hey, trips right, banana XYZ, backpack, Z flip, turn around, jump 62, Y flip on 7. Instead of all of that, you just, whatever the play is, you teach the play, and then now that play is called play 6. instead of all that long verbiage. You like, you know what I'm saying? Just play number 6. And again, for the super, football nerds and everything like that, when it come to the old school mentality, as far as that's concerned, you have people that'll never get off of that because that's football for them. But respectfully, how smart are you if the guy can get it if you simplify it, but instead of just simplifying it for him so that he gets it, you say, no, no matter how complicated it is, you have to you gotta understand it. Forget the fact, the idea that maybe it's too complicated for no reason. Maybe, just understanding the fact that the verbiage doesn't have to be that complicated. It doesn't. That's the point. But if you don't want to move off of that, then, it kind of just is what it is. And in some situations, it could just be the way that you're explaining it to an individual. Maybe you're explaining it in a fashion where it's just harder to register with them. And maybe if you just explained it in a more relatable way, then they could get, whatever it is, the point that you're trying to get across to them as far as what they're looking for on the offense and, all of that kind of thing. But ultimately, if you've gone through that many coordinators, there's no way that you can get me to believe that the offense has to be dumbed down to where you just don't, I don't think it had to be dumbed down to play one. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think you had to dumb it down that much. Even though I'm simply saying that, like, if you got a guy that's that good and then the only thing he struggles with is just the verbiage, well, then let me just change the verbiage then. Because if you that good, I don't need the verbiage to be what makes you not be good. Let me just fix the verbiage. So that way you don't have to think so much about that and you can just focus on being good. Like, that's, I don't know. That, to me, that would just be the part of coaching that should be just, a no-brainer. Let's listen to a little bit more, Coach Prime.
Got him, man. We record every darn thing. I wish you could hear the timeouts at Colorado when we went to the sidelines. It's so funny because I saw it last season. I forget the kid's name, went in motion against the Bears, and he's like, run a sing. And I started laughing my butt off because I've seen that before.
Isaiah Bond?
Yeah. You didn't hear it on the copy? Run a sing.
So again, if Shedeur don't know what he's looking at and different stuff like that, then how is it that he done dissected the defense and then now as Bond coming by in motion, he telling him what route to run based on what he's seen on the defense. Hey, boom, run a seam. Yeah, I just saw, what the movement that they did pre-snap. Hey, run a seam on this one. Got you. How is that if you can't process and you don't know what you're looking at and all this other old kind of crazy crap? Well, then how could you have the wherewithal to be barking out what route, to run right there? What route is the best route to run right there if you just have no idea what it is that you're looking at to begin with? That's the mind-blowing part that, that even, Prime himself is saying that he was struggling to figure out, like, man, where this stuff coming from? Like, why y'all say, basically, like, why y'all saying this, man? Why you going this far with it? Y'all going a little too far with it. Like, where is all this coming from? Oh, he don't know how to read no defense at all, but he had 6 different offensive coordinators to learn every one of their offenses, but all of a sudden, he just some dummy that don't know, that can't learn nothing. What are we doing? What are we talking about here? And, lastly, let's listen to Coach Prime speak about Coach Monken. What he thinks about Coach Monken.
That he spoke up for his brother. You got to understand, man, that's his brother, though. And God bless Mary Kay's soul. That's his brother. I mean, she said something, he said something. Like media is different today.
Oh, hold on.
I know a lot of people don't respect.
I'm sorry, it's a little bit further than that. Because that's where kind of, he's addressing basically, how the Sanders family handles things, and the fact that, Shiloh was just simply taking up for his brother. Prime is also pointing out he don't want no beef with, Cleveland media, nothing like that. He was just like, but you got to understand, Buddy gonna take up for his brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't he? of course he's going to want to, like, why wouldn't he want to take up for his brother? You know what I mean? Because I know I'm going to do that. I'm going to take up for my brother. I'm definitely going to take up for my brother. Hey, man, don't be talking about my brother. I can talk about my brother, but you, I don't know. Yeah, man, you don't need to be saying nothing about, don't talk about my brother. You better leave my brother alone. Don't say nothing about my brother. That's just how I roll.
Lack thereof is inconsistency. You got to have the same thing when you walk in that room. So we got him prepared as well in that first meeting. And I love him, man, because he's a straight shooter. He keeps it a buck. See, all these little side conversations and side relationships that was had before him, he ain't with that. Like now, he into the now. Let's do now. Quit asking me that bullshit. That's really what he wants to say. Quit asking me that bullshit. Man, I ain't got time for that. What's up? That's how he get down, and I love it. And we know him. I was supposed to go actually next week, but I got to shoot a commercial to Cleveland to meet him because I want to meet him. Because I think it's vital that as a coach, not a dad, I could tell him a few things about grown, how to get him going. That wasn't asked of me a year ago. I don't understand it. Like even a guy like Travis Hunter been drafted to Jacksonville, and I've had him for the last 3. Don't you think you would want to talk to me to let me know, to ask me what gets him going and what backs him off and what, like, you would want to know that. So
that is very interesting, because I do want to say Prime goes on to speak about it a little more, but I believe that was a very interesting point right there. It wasn't even no need for him to elaborate even more, because he even took it to the aspect of not just Shedeur Sanders, but even a Travis Hunter. It's like, well, you coaching them, like, why wouldn't you want to reach out to me and ask, like, well, hey, man, what are some of the things that, maybe you was kind of doing with him, or what positions you was putting him in, or what do you think he's good at? What do you think he's not good at? I mean, you were coaching him for 3 years before we got him. So why not reach out and just kind of see, like, hey, what do you think he was good at or not good at? So again, that's very interesting that Coach Prime, but he ain't saying nothing. I'm saying it. That Stefanski, why you was against? Why you ain't want to holler at Coach Prime to see what was going on, to see what maybe Shedeur might be good at, might not be good at, different things of that nature. What gets him to tick? What floats his boat, so to speak. What turns him off, what turns him on, pause, those kinds of things. Why not? I mean, that's what Bill O'Brien did with Deshaun Watson. Well, let me reach out to your college coach and kind of see some of the things that y'all had going on over there that had you looking so good, and see if I can't maybe incorporate some of that in what I do, and see if I can't get you looking good, using some similar stuff. I don't got to use everything that you use, but just taking a couple tips or pointers here or there. But if you think you know it all, Kevin Stefanski, if you think you know it all and you the smartest guy in the room, can't nobody tell you nothing, well then why would you want to reach out? But a guy like Coach Monken, like he done already says, like basically he's got a comment where he's basically saying you can never stop learning. Like, why would I shut myself off to information? Now, what I do with it, what I choose to do with it once received, of course, that's on me. But why would I just shut myself off to new information? No, give me that information. Let me see. Let me see what I may be able to use from it or may not. I can take what I feel like may be productive, and then the rest of it, I just throw it in the trash if I feel like I don't need it. But why would I just shut myself off to the information? My final point. Cleveland media, local Cleveland media, y'all better pray. You better pray that neither Deshaun Watson nor Shedeur Sanders is any good at football. I'm going to say this again. You better pray that neither Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders are any good at football. Because if by any chance under the sun, either one of these individuals end up looking good at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and dare I say, have a 9 or a 10-win season, either one, even if the both of them together combine to come up with a 10-win season, because maybe one start, maybe Deshaun starts and then ends up getting hurt, and then Shedeur has to take over. But somehow you end the season with 10 wins. I'm not understanding. The amount of crow that would have to be eaten is just absolutely ridiculous. Because if we listen to everything that the Cleveland media has pumped about Kevin Stefanski and how awesome he was, and the fact that our roster was just trash, and Andrew Berry wasn't no good at drafting people. That's why Kevin couldn't win, because Andrew Berry couldn't draft, because the players he always drafted was trash. And that, the draft that the one good draft he had, that doesn't count. It's one good draft out of however many years. If Andrew Berry has back-to-back good drafts, the wide receivers turn out to be what we think they'll be. The quarterbacks look decent. The coach looks decent. We don't lead the league in pre-snap and post-snap penalties and all this other crazy crap. We're not top 5 in interceptions and fumbles every year. And the quarterbacks look somewhat decent, look somewhat good. I don't understand how you listen to any Cleveland media going forward. How do you listen to any of these individuals and trust their takes? Because we just heard from Coach Prime what he felt like his opinion of what Todd Monken is, because I had that opinion too before even hearing Coach Prime say it. My feeling of Todd Monken was like, hey, check this out. I don't know what was going on with Stefanski and them. So when you asking me about that kind of stuff, I don't know what was, you asked me, well, have you seen Deshaun Watson? Well, I didn't watch Deshaun Watson play in that system. I don't know what they was asking him to do. Some of the times when I was looking at the cross tape, I was thinking to myself, like, what the heck is they doing on offense? When Kurt Warner breaking it down, you heard him earlier, Kurt Warner saying, well, I don't know what these two wide receivers is one guy that could cover the both of them. So I don't even understand how a guy was supposed to be open on this play. Kurt Warner said these exact words, Shedeur was set up to fail on this play. You running plays where the quarterback is set up to fail, where the wide receivers is running right by each other. And again, I ain't Kurt Warner, but when I used to be looking at the film and breaking the film down, watching the all 22 and breaking the film down, I would do it on here. I'm gonna have to learn how to do the in-screen, picture in-screen. But when I would just be watching it myself, because I love football, you know what I mean? And I want to know what I'm talking about. I want to be knowledgeable and know what I'm talking about. When I'm watching it, I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is a bunch of stick routes and curl routes. And then every time we run these routes, we got two wide receivers right by. I mean, it's basically like they running mirror routes. They right by each other and they running the same route. It's like, what? How is either one? How are they supposed to be open? How are they supposed to be open? Or your best wide receivers, you use them as decoys to throw the ball to the number 3 wide receiver who was an undrafted free agent. I mean, a undrafted, unsigned player. I don't get that. How was that play supposed to be successful? So skip over your 2 best pass catchers to throw it to a question mark? I don't understand the logic in that part of the offense. Like, I don't get that. The same reason that you take Quinshon Judkins off the field on 3rd and short and 4th and short, and then we'd be wondering why, but then somehow people would be telling us, well, like, nah, analytically, that was actually a good idea. No, it's not. The same way it was no smart idea to take Marshawn Lynch out to play in the Super Bowl, and we gonna throw the ball. Why? That's stupid. You got Marshawn Lynch, his name Beast Mode. You need 1 yard. I don't know. I don't understand. Why are we overthinking this? Why are we? I'm not understanding that. The Ivy League made you overthink it. It made you think too hard about it when you didn't have to. It was as simple gets. And I heard, when I heard Monken in one of his interviews say, look, hey, man, if we run power 62 times a game, but it looks good and it looks how you want it to look, and it looks like that could be our identity, yeah, people might get mad that we run power 62 times a game, but if it works, can you really complain? If it works and you win, can you really complain about it? And if you do, you have a deeper agenda. It's not just about supporting the team and wanting them to win with you. You want them to win your way. That's what it is. And again, that's what it seemed a lot with Kevin. Kevin didn't necessarily care about winning as much as he cared about winning his way. It seemed like that was most important. Also believe a lot of the local Cleveland media and, a certain section of Browns fans also have the same issue. They're not just okay with winning. They want to win the way they want to win, with the quarterback that they want to win with, running the system they want to run, with it looking the way they want it to look. So if they don't want you to celebrate with a wrist up after the touchdown, then they just don't want that and they think that you should be gone. When respectfully, I think that's the dumbest way to go about business. It should be about what's going on the grass in between the lines. Are you performing or are you not? That's what it should come down to. Dogs on the couch, signing off.